Hello, everyone. I'm Tracy, and I'm here with Shane. Today, we're going to be going into the suspicious fires that are going on in Southern California right now. And we did kind of get an idea. Into Thin Air did give us a little heads up that something would be happening in Southern California, and he was right. So in this video, I want to play the radar footage, and then we're going to go into the unusual fire behavior, and then look at some of the damage. And then we're going to close out with Shane comparing this area to the Camarillo Smart City Development Plan. So with that, if you haven't subscribed yet, please do so before you leave. I would really appreciate it. And like, comment, and share this video so we can let as many people know what's really going on here. So with that, I'm going to just start out with Into Thin Air. Should I just start out there? Sound good?
Yeah.
Okay.
And this stuff is flowing right into Southern California where these fires are. And you can see that taking place right here. And now I want to break this down frame by frame to show you exactly what's taking place here. It's insane. We are looking at this little thing right here. This just came from Area 51. I can't backtrack anymore. But if you look closely, you can see these very distinct straight lines. They just dropped this over Area 51. And then what happens is, and when I say they, I mean airplanes drop this over that Area 51 base. And then take a look at this. Watch what happens to this as we move forward right over the California fires. These fires are all over Southern California right now. We talked about this. We predicted this. Take a look at this little thing that got dropped over Area 51. It will then expand out over Southern California. It is getting shot left and right by different NEXRAD radar towers. This one specifically shot this second band right here. You could see it gets dropped right about there. So they're dropping them over Area 51. They're flowing this way. And then as they pass the radar, they're getting zapped. Now watch this one and watch this one. Here we go. Boom, we're moving forward, and then zap right there. This radar tower hits this group of whatever they dropped in the sky, and then watch what happens next. These things fan out and begin to expand. And as they're expanding, they're getting hit more and more. You can see these beams going nuts, and these things keep widening out. Now take a look at this view of California here. It's very smoky. You're going to see the fire begin right about there. This was early in the day on November 6th, and we said this would happen. We knew these wildfires were coming. You could see it start right about there. There's one over here, and a couple down in the Baja of Mexico. And then we move forward, you can see that long strip of smoke coming out of the Ventura County region. I used to live in Simi Valley. We wouldn't get these fires close to me, but they would be up on the valley. But there you have it, my friends. We knew this was coming. We said there would be wildfires and damaging winds coming to California. Once again, they are dumping things over Area 51. Let's watch this again. This is incredible. Zap right there. That's crazy. They literally put this beam right on that drop, and then it all begins to expand. It then flows down through Southern California right over the wildfires. This is literally happening over the wildfires.
So I did want to mention that Into Thin Air brought up Area 51, and we did a video on the flooding in Roswell. I'll put that video right here. And that also kind of shows that there's been unusual radar anomalies coming out of that area. And I am in Southern California. I just wanted to give you guys my personal experience. Yesterday was unusually windy. It kind of like get really windy and then kind of calm down and no wind and then get really windy. I'm not sure if I'm just more aware of these things, but I can attest to that. There was unusually strong gusts of wind, and the wind just, it came out of came out of nowhere. So I'll let Shane kind of go into the Into Thin Air clip. What do you think was going on there?
Yeah, so that clip, so he's shown radar anomalies in the past that were associated with wind events. And we've also seen that ourselves, like during the derechos back in May that hit Houston and the rest of the Midwest. You see strange radar anomalies and like wave patterns in the clouds. This one was a radar anomaly that could be associated with the wind event. And I think if you had some sort of, NEXRAD interferometry going on, then you could create a situation where you could push ionic or electric wind, so the winds could be pushed, because I know there's a front coming down, and it's curving around creating the Santa Anas, but that could be pushing the Santa Anas a little harder. as well. And later on, we'll show some of the wind speeds that were pretty high, like comparable to Maui.
Okay, right. And we did see these unusual winds on the 8th of August in Lahaina. All right, and then I'm going to go into some of the damage videos. Want me to do that?
Yeah, you can show the images or the videos, whatever order you want.
We're here in Somis on Donlin Road near Moore Park. This is one of those areas in evacuation zones. And as you can see behind me, the destruction of some of the homes in this area. The property owner here gave us permission to film inside. You can see where the fire ripped through these homes, the burned cars, and the flames. These homes completely destroyed. The Ventura County Fire Department, as you mentioned, says these high force winds have made it really challenging to battle this fire. And the fire initially broke out this morning on Balcom Canyon Road and Bradley Road. As Annabelle mentioned, it has now scorched about 9,000 acres. And I spoke to several homeowners in this area, just obviously feeling absolute devastation after coming back and seeing their homes completely destroyed. As our photographer, Jorge Diaz, gives you a closer look at just where this fire ripped through. As you can see here on this side, those flames as well, still burning at this hour, and the winds still in effect for this area.
I'm going to show some of the maps
All
just
right.
so people can get a better idea of exactly where these fires are. So here's the area in Camarillo. There's also a few home fires in Malibu, which is a little more southwest of this. So that was another thing that was unusual, is that at the same time these were coming up, there were fires sprouting up in Malibu, which isn't that close. And then here's one fire that one house that was leveled to its foundation. And then is this the same house or a different one?
I believe these are 4 different homes. There's 4
Different
different
homes.
lots in this photo, and you can see the defensible space around them is mostly untouched. Now, the home on the far right has some scorching in the grass, but most of the trees, almost all of the trees, seem to be completely intact.
Okay, right. And this area is known to have larger properties, larger homes, and it's not a super compact area the way like LA County is and some of these other areas that we've seen fires. Yeah, it's not, I know we're in Southern California, but it's not quite suburban, but it's yeah, it's an area where there's a lot more space.
And we do have a video that relates to the defensible space if you wanted to play that next.
Okay.
You know, and we have often talked about defensible space, and it seems as if this house had the defensible space.
Oh, that's right. This is one of the homes. We've been up here for quite a while. This home we actually saw has smoke, just a little smoke coming out of the eaves earlier on, coming back to check on it, and now it really is starting to catch fire.
All right. So yeah, the reason I included this clip here is so that you can see the space around the homes that are burning, which is relatively untouched. So, you know, they recommend you have like 100 feet of defensible space around your home with no, flammable materials. However, you can see in here, it's only a scorch mark in the grass and the trees are basically completely untouched. So yes, that was actually from that photo that you were talking about. So the photo of the 4 homes in a row, that was the one on the far right.
Okay, so that was the house that was leveled. And I have one more.
It was, yeah.
I'll do the map, the 3D map.
Those areas in red, you see them there. Those are mandatory evacuations. And then off on the distance, the yellow, those are evacuation warnings. That is closer to the Santa Paula area to the north, and then to the south, Camarillo. So this is all happening really north of Camarillo, hence it jumped the 118 this morning, and that's why Camarillo Heights is said to be of biggest concern tonight. So this gives you a better sense. It is still a lot to digest, all of this information, as we move around this 3D mapping system here. Just to give you an idea of how big this thing is. Again, more than 10,400 acres burned as of 4 o'clock this afternoon. No doubt we'll get updated numbers. 0% containment, by the way. All of this information for you is at vcemergency.com.
All right.
All right,
And I think the
I'm gonna show
relevant points there
you
is
want to show
that
the last one about the house burning, or sorry, go ahead.
oh, okay. Okay. Go ahead.
But I think it's just wind carrying that smoke. You do see the white smoke there, which might say there are firefighters on the ground, perhaps. But I think it's just wind carrying that smoke.
Yeah.
How do I
So
get
that
that
was
off?
like our second. Oh, this image here, we need to take it down like that.
Okay, there you go.
So that was the second example of a house that actually was said to, well, you could see one that was smoking prior to catching on fire because there weren't any visible flames yet. And then there was the other home in the defensible space that we were talking about where they showed it on fire, but he said, you know, he was there like 45 minutes before that, and the house was only smoking with no flames. And so it seems really strange that a house would catch on fire from the inside, or it would be smoking, indicating that there perhaps is a fire on the inside. But if it caught fire, it would have to catch fire from the outside.
Yeah, and I'm starting to get this sense that there is some sort of energy coming from the ground or something like within the house or under the house that is like causing the house to start, you know, with the fire, instead of typically the outside will, you know, come towards the house and then engulf the house. Seems like it's originating from inside the house. Those made me think that. All right, I'm going to show some of these damage aftermath, and you could go ahead and say what you need about this one.
Okay. So these were bicycles that they were actually relatively new. So they were in working condition prior to the fire. And now after the fire, you can see that the metals are basically oxidized, if not, you know, they look rusty. And we've seen that on automobiles, like, you know, in cars, not only in this fire, but in Maui and Paradise and other fires where the cars seem to have instantly rusted already. And that level and that rate of oxidation is actually not natural. So all the metals shouldn't be so rusty looking so soon after a fire.
Yeah, and then do you want me to go to the one about can you take that picture down? Sorry, I gotta scroll. Okay, do you want me to go into the fire behavior? We have a couple, fire NATO and like the fire behavior. Is that where you want me to go?
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
This was called Edges Burn Evenly.
Okay, so you can see how violent this fire is burning. What's left of the boards that made up the roof are all burning relatively evenly. But now you see this windowsill, which did have glass in it, I assume, but now the glass is missing, and you can see the edges of this windowsill are burning evenly all the way around it, especially in this image. So it's really strange that the fire would follow the edges of the windowsill like that, and that the glass would be missing as well. And then there should be a door here that shows how evenly it's burning along the edges. You know, it doesn't matter whether it's a vertical or a horizontal edge, it's burning just as evenly with a really small layer of flames coming off of it.
Okay, and here's called Spot Fire Out of Nowhere.
Because this just continues to move. Look, here's a hot spot. Where is the closest flames to this in that area? It just shows you how quickly it can just jump to spot to spot to spot.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. So in that video, you can see how far the fire was from the fire front. So an ember would have had to have been carried very far by the wind in order to start that spot fire, unless something else happened.
Yeah, so it's examples like that that make me think there's something, coming from the bottom, because I mean, they'll always say ember blue
Well,
there, but it's just that this just happening
it's
so
also
much.
examples like that. Yeah. But it's also examples like that that cause me to believe that something is coming from above.
Well, a combination. That's kind of what I see, like a magnet, like there's a magnet and it's kind of like connecting with metal, or kind of like lightning.
Well, no, so I do believe there's a conductive path that's being connected from the either atmosphere or ionosphere to the ground, and that can draw electric current from the ground, especially if there's a lot of space weather that's present. You're going to have a positively charged magnetosphere, and then if you can create a conductive path through the ionosphere to the ground, then you'll have a conductive path from the magnetosphere to the ground, and you will have an upward flow of electric current to try to equalize the positive charge up above.
Right. And then we call those plasma fires.
Some people call those plasma fires. I
Okay.
don't know. It depends on your definition of plasma. However, I would think,
Mhm.
yes, anything with an ionic charge is considered plasma. So even static electricity, the air around an object with static electricity could also be considered, charged. Be cold plasma, but it's still plasma technically.
Okay. And lightning is plasma too, right?
There is plasma present in lightning. Yeah. So lightning is a very dense electric charge. It's like a trail of electrons, and it does ionize the air inside the lightning bolt. So yeah, technically there's plasma present in a lightning bolt too.
Okay. And then I did the spot fire. And then here we're going to go into some of the fire NATOs that you caught.
Yeah, I imagine it is. I'm quite surprised you're actually even talking to us so calmly over the phone, but thank you for that. And all we want to make sure is that you stay safe. So if you got to go, please let us know. As far as where you are and your surrounding area, your neighborhood, are there other people close by in that vicinity? What's your proximity to all of this?
I would say we're about a couple miles away at best, and we're in a very tight-knit community, thankfully.
Yeah. And so what I wanted to point out is that you're typically going to see a fire NATO at the front of an advancing fire front. And a lot of times a fire front will advance in a V formation. And the point of that V is usually where you're going to see a fire NATO spring out of. So I just wanted to point that out.
So those were unusual in that there was no front. There were just fire NATOs.
Well, no, there is a fire front. In the next clip, you're going to be able to see how the fire front advances.
Oh,
And
okay.
yeah, and so it usually advances. You can go ahead and play it now because I think it's a silent clip and we can talk over it. All right. So there's like you saw a small fire NATO spring up, which I think he saw it too. So he zooms in and you can see this little fire NATO springing up. Now that the fire is moving across the canopy here. And you can see that every so often along this fire front, you'll see a fire NATO spring up as if, this trail of electrical conductivity is moving across the canopy here. And every once in a while, the updraft, the flames will get caught in an updraft and create what we know of as a fire NATO. But then you can also see like just how strangely the fire front is moving and how it kind of like, it falls over and instantly catches the next tree on fire, so like, yeah, the fire just flopped over and now look at it, it's all steaming already. So that's like, it's so hard to start a fire that quickly in real time, even with the wind.
Yeah, and that wasn't sped up. It was
No.
that's what the fire was doing. And so
Yeah.
that is just such an aggressive fire, as if it's being controlled almost. Like I mean, yes, it's windy, but that really made it seem suspicious, that clip there. Okay, and then I have this one, surface winds faster. You want to play that one? Surface
Sure.
winds faster.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to talk over this one because the audio got messed up on it. So go
Okay.
ahead and play that. So this one was he was intending to show that the altitude winds, the high altitude winds, were slower than the ground winds. So the ground winds on the ground were actually moving much faster. You can go ahead and play that again as I continue to talk. So up high, the winds were only about 30 miles an hour where the helicopter was, but on the ground at this point, the winds were gusting up to 85 miles an hour. And it's really strange to have a stronger wind on the ground than you would have at higher altitude. There's mostly turbulent flow because of the contour and the friction and just the topography of the ground. So there's going to be all sorts of vortices that prevent laminar flow down there. So you're typically going to have your higher gusts up a little higher. However, there was like a 50-mile-an-hour difference in the wind from up high than there was on the ground. And on the ground, they had some wind speeds that were up to 85 miles an hour.
You know where else we saw wind speeds on the ground up to 85 miles an hour?
Right, on
Maui.
Maui, in the wind shadow of the mountain too. So the wind was blowing from the other side of the mountain, and it came down the mountain and was blowing, 80 to 85 miles an hour at ground level. And I guess if we were to perhaps go back and examine the smoke plume from Lahaina, you'll see that the higher elevations or higher altitudes were not moving as quickly.
Okay, and I have one more about the wind.
The winds are so erratic, you really don't know which way it's going to blow next. It seems so dangerous. You think back to Woolsey, you think back to that erratic fire.
Yeah, so someone who lives in the area can probably let me know if the Santa Anas are typically a unidirectional wind. So do the Santa Anas normally blow, since you live there, you could probably tell me if the Santa Anas normally blow in one direction most of the time, or if they are erratic and they switch up and blow all different ways.
My understanding, it goes one direction, and I thought it comes from the south. So like I'm in LA County, Santa Ana is south. So I figured it was coming from Orange County where Santa Ana is, but I could just be misunderstanding that. So don't take that as fact.
It looked like the front was coming in from the north, but then it curved to the west. And so it had somewhat of an east to west direction to the travel this time, as you could tell from the smoke plume that blew out over the ocean.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure exactly what the Santa Ana winds are supposed to do.
Okay.
So,
But the thing is that the winds were going many different directions. And
okay.
I'm not sure if that's normal.
Yeah, that doesn't sound right. Okay, one more called about the winds. Do you want me to play this one?
No, that was just a news clip that showed the actual wind totals, which were in the 50 to 80 mile an hour range.
And then there's one more saying old fire NATO clip. Do we need that one?
Yeah, so that one actually kind of goes along with the fire NATO.
And this one's actually on green vegetation.
This is a video from a laser fire. Here, I'll put the sound on so you can hear it. But watch the way this thing moves. Watch how it advances out of nowhere on green brush, on wet vegetation. Look at it move.
So yeah, you can see how the fire front is advancing in almost like a V formation, and then the tornado is at the front of it.
So
do you remember where this
tornado was leading the edge of this fire, and the grass is only on fire. It's like 6 inches of grass, and it's only on fire at the fire front. Everything behind that is already blackened and it's done burning. So this couldn't be an extremely hot fire if it was like a natural fire. Plus, you can see how small the rest of the flames are, except where the alleged beam is.
So to answer your question, the guy who shared the video, he actually lives in Santa Rosa, but I believe that clip was probably from somewhere in the Midwestern United States. It could have been Iowa or somewhere like that, where they have a lot of fields that look identical.
Yeah, it looks very flat. All right, and then so those are all of the video clips. And then I'll show the Camarillo general plan. So I'll give a little background just because I've been to the area, Camarillo. I've been to Ventura County. I I used to work in these areas, and it just doesn't seem like an area. It just doesn't have those characteristics of other areas that were destroyed and has smart city plans, because Camarillo is more spread out. It's not super densely populated. It's not a low income area. Most of the homes are very nice, $1 million plus homes as far as what I've seen. And so at first I thought that's just doesn't fit the profile of other areas. But Shane did dig up the general plan for Camarillo, so I'm going to have him go into that.
All right. So what we see here is the Camarillo general plan, and it does show a lot of like the zoning and the land use and stuff like that. But I wanted to point out that these, like, I guess, beige and yellow areas at the top left, that's the area between the 118 and the 101. The 101 is the black line that goes like across the middle. And so the yellow area is where the fire is. So the fire jumped the 118 near the top of the image, and it burned towards the 101 there near the middle of the image. So a lot of this yellow area is actually on fire, is where the fire is. And it's kind of a densely packed area. This is another image from the Camarillo city plan. And you can see that all of this area, this gold area, is mostly north of the 101. And so a lot of that is what's burning. And then you can see how it's a tightly packed residential area. I also wanted to show the Moore Park plan. This is just east of where the fire started, but here on the west side, where you can see like the blue industrial area, that's approximately where the fire started and then spread to the west and the southwest. Now, another thing I wanted to show is the Camarillo Old Town Strategic Plan. Now, there's something that tipped me off here, how it said they were working on a collaborative effort to develop a 5-year action plan for Camarillo Old Town. So now these 5-year action plans are actually from the UN for their sustainable development goals for 2030. So a lot of these, and also Segitur is part of this for awarding, smart destinations, at least in the Spanish speaking part of the world. They award them with their smart tourist designations. And this is all based on the recommendations that are made by the 5-year action plan. So when a city or a locality is handed one of these 5-year action plans, they have 5 years to complete the plan from that point on. And it looks like, I think the Camarillo 5-year action plan just went into effect on August 21st of 2024, or at least they were having their last meetings around that time. So if it has been approved, then they now have 5 years to finish their redevelopment.
Oh, that's really recent.
And I did want to show, it is very recent, yes. And I also wanted to show that this is the map of the burn scar. And you can see that the bottom fire, where it says Zone 3, is between East Los Angeles Avenue, also known as 118, and then the 101 there at the bottom of the screen. And this map also shows that area. So a lot of Camarillo Heights, as well as the Camarillo Old Town area, are within the area that's being threatened by the fire. So it is basically it's a pretty close match.
Yeah, that's just really is surprising, because also it doesn't, just from my experience there, it doesn't seem like an area that needs to be cleared. Things are kind of spread out. It just seems like they could just put something in there, but maybe not.
Well, I know that, there's been talk of, they can use eminent domain to try to clear things, especially if there's a public works project, or if they can justify that it's for the greater good. However, I think the residents would fight back a little harder, prior to a disaster than they would post-disaster. So post-disaster, the land's not as worth as much. The insurance might not cover the whole thing, although I'm sure a lot of the rich people in this area could probably make up the difference from the insurance payout, or even a lack of it. Let's say the insurance doesn't pay out. Some of them might actually be able to rebuild, but it would be much easier, to clear these areas with eminent domain if there had been a disaster.
Right. All right. And then I did get a request to ask you all if you were in this area or your home was destroyed or damaged by this fire, is the request is if you could turn the water on and see if it works. Because there was a report of no water being available for the firefighters. And I believe that area, it was in Camarillo, right? I think you
So
told me
yes,
there.
in Camarillo and in the West Moore Park area, there
Mhm.
was, I guess there could have been issues with the water. Now I know there was water pressure. However, I am aware of a clip that I didn't have handy, but there was a clip of a firefighter who had requested a water diversion so they could actually have more pressure because there was low water pressure. And I also want to point out that if fire or whatever, just if a house were to collapse or whatever, and pipes are damaged or busted, then broken pipes will also decrease the water pressure as well.
Right. And we saw that in Maui as well. So yeah, if you're in the area, if you would, check that out and let me know somehow, email me or I guess put in the comments, but best if you email me in the description. I'll put my email address and I would love to get some feedback because I know a lot of my viewers are in Southern California. So any pictures, video, witness testimony or experiences you've had, please share it. A lot of this information is now hard to come by. So yeah, I wanted to put that request out. And is there anything else that we wanted to cover?
I think that's everything.
That's it.
I just wanted to actually show one more image. Now, we did show this in the video, and this is among the images that I actually shared with Robert Brame, the forensic arborist, on Facebook. I showed him some of these images from the mountain fire in Ventura County, and he did notice all of the normal damage that you would have from, a plasma fire or directed energy or whatever might have happened here. He noticed all the same things. But one thing he pointed out that I completely missed was there was a blue porta potty in the background, and I don't think
Oh,
it was just placed there. It was probably there beforehand.
yeah, I
Yeah,
just
so I
saw
just
that.
wanted to show that.
Yeah, very interesting. Okay. Was there anything else we missed?
Yeah.
No, that's it. Okay, we put this together very quickly because we wanted to get it out soon. So, and I think there's a delay with on your end, Shane. But so I think we got everything.
Oh, okay.
Thank you all for being here, and we will see you all soon. Bye.